Part 2 of our exploration of hyperconverged technologies continues today on the ExploreVM Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the ExploreVM Podcast. Today we continue our series on hyperconverged infrastructure. Once again, the goal for this series is to help build an understanding of hyperconverged infrastructure, its place in the data center world, and spotlight the various ways that vendors are deploying HCI. As a reminder, my guests for this series work for the vendors, but these episodes are not sponsored. I'm not receiving any sort of compensation for these appearances. And all vendors appearing have had a very strict set of rules laid out for their appearances. 1, no bashing other HCI vendors. 2, keep it technical. This is a technical podcast. 3, this is not a free commercial for your product. And 4, no bashing other HCI vendors. All right, let's begin. Up next in the HCI series, we have HPE Simplivity. Today's guests come to us directly from HPE. Guys, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, this is Chuck Wood. I'm in the product marketing team for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, specifically focused on the software-defined cloud group and hyperconvergence.
Hi, and I'm Vinay Janakoti. I manage technical marketing for the software-defined cloud group.
All right, so let's start with the very first question. What does hyperconverged mean to Simplivity?
Yeah, Paul, so this is Chuck. So when we talk about hyperconvergence, what we're really focused on is around delivering business outcomes to customers to really simplify their infrastructure and simplify how they deliver applications to their businesses. And what's to simplify? Well, when you build out a virtualized infrastructure, and we're talking about applications running in a virtualized environment with a hypervisor, invariably there's a lot of infrastructure and management overhead you have to deploy just to run workloads. And there's servers, there's compute, there's switching, there's backup appliances, there's storage. And when you add it up, there are 8 to 12 products that an IT administrator has to be fluent with, or an IT division has to be fluent with, and they're expensive to purchase, they're expensive to maintain. Many times you have multiple interfaces, and the net result is, while hypervisors are extremely great at running workloads, they create VM sprawl as a function of the speed at which you can create applications. So the ensuing infrastructure is incredibly complex. And when we walk into data centers today, customers want a simpler experience. So what HPE Simplivity has done is we've looked at this problem in total, and we collapsed that entire stack of upwards of 8 to 10 products to run from 10 to thousands of VMs in a very easy, manageable way, from compute, storage, software-defined storage, and networking, all from a single management interface that the customer already knows. It's the built-in management interface that they're using today for their hypervisor, be it VMware or Hyper-V. And it's that ensuing suspend disbelief. We really can collapse all this into a single appliance, so you have one generalist, IT generalist, managing a single stack from a single vendor, where they can manage the support contract through a single vendor, and it overall delivers business outcomes to the customer.
All right, so now diving into the weeds, what are we looking at for the architecture behind Simplivity? What kind of hardware, what hypervisors are available, management? Go ahead and just spill the guts on the product.
Thank you, Paul. It's me, Vinay, here. From a Simplivity standpoint, the core of Simplivity, the architecture, is called the data virtualization platform. Currently, we support VMware and Hyper-V as the hypervisors. We actually have options to have a compute-only node, wherein you can leverage the Simplivity node, the Simplivity data virtualization platform, their data stores, with an external compute node to run your compute resources, but leverage and get the benefit of the data virtualization platform from a deduplication, compression, and optimization standpoint, but also manage all infrastructure right within the management plane which customers are used to managing the infrastructure, whether it be vCenter from a VMware perspective or SCVMM from a Hyper-V perspective. Our upgrades and installs expansions are very easy. Right now, with the latest release, we can actually scale or deploy a whole Fed cluster with a couple of clicks using our upgrade manager and our deployment manager. And our upgrade manager provides you the ability to both upgrade your OmniStack as well as the ESXi right from your upgrade manager. Installation has become very easy from a Simplivity standpoint. We just have a deployment manager tool wherein you provide your IP addresses, and we actually validate and verify your whole network infrastructure before the nodes are installed. And like I mentioned, the management is actually very easy. Simplivity started in the notion to simplify IT, so we continue to live in where the VM admin is managing their infrastructure. So it's either VMware, vCenter, or SCVMM for Hyper-V.
And what about node requirements? What's the smallest deployment that you can go with, and how big can the clusters expand to?
Good question. So the minimum requirement for us is a single node in a cluster, but we always recommend our customers to have 2 nodes in a cluster just for high availability, but the minimum requirement is 1. In a single cluster, we can scale up to 16 nodes, and in a federation, we can scale up to 96 nodes in a federation. And in our case, a federation is really where you can manage your big infrastructure, and this could be multiple robo sites, and all of them managed from a single pane of glass. And with Simplivity, because the way we do deduplication at inception, and we leverage the same deduplicated data for backups, and especially a robo site which has lot of sites, the amount of bandwidth which is sent across the sites is also minimal, but the scale at which we support is also high.
And what about if you need to expand just your compute or just your storage? Are there options for compute-only nodes, storage-only nodes, or does everything kind of come all at once?
So we have 2 options. You can either buy storage and compute together by buying a Simplivity node, or you can buy a compute node only and attach that compute node to the Simplivity data stores where you can get all the benefits from Simplivity. But we don't have a storage-only option today.
Okay, and what about external HP storage? Can the Simplivity cluster reach out to that as well?
We don't support external storage today from a Simplivity standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is Chuck. Just to add on to that, it's all around delivering simplicity. So we put together an appliance, we've appliantized it for the customers, and we give them T-shirt sizes. Do you need extra small nodes? Do you need mid-size nodes? Do you need large nodes? And these are all either 2-rack unit appliances built on the HPE DL380 platform, which is one of the world's best, most modular, most secure platforms. But we've appliantized it to take away that need to size storage and to do the adds and configs. But these are 2U building blocks. We also have the Apollo 2600 form factor, which is also fixed in 2 rack units, so very small building blocks, which is what Hyperconverged gives you. These appliantized building blocks, you can start small, but then with 1 node, and then add a second, and add a third, and it's a scale-out model to avoid that need of over-provisioning and right-sizing. How many compute nodes do I need? How many storage nodes? So that's the design point around this. So you can start small with this 1 or 2 nodes, and you're structurally redundant with all the resiliency built in, and then you can add that increment that you need. But with each node, you're adding compute, storage, all the resources prepackaged. So it's around simplicity, and that appliance model is what we're hearing the customers really like. So just want to make sure that's understood. Also, we include built-in data protection, so you don't have to, as you're scaling in other models where you might need storage and compute separate, how are you going to back up that infrastructure? That might require another silo of architecture to be scaled and sized. With our building blocks, you're not only getting the CPU, memory, compute, storage, networking resources for the primary VMs, you're also getting the resources to do protection in the form of backup, restore, and disaster recovery. So that model, we think, is superior in what customers really value.
So you mentioned data protection. How does Simplivity protect the data across the cluster?
So with Simplivity, what we have is inbuilt data protection features, wherein we have the ability to create a backup policy. A backup policy typically has some backup rules, which are really assigned to a VM level. And whenever a backup policy is assigned to a VM, the backups are automatically happening within the cluster or remote to a different cluster. So we support both local backups and remote backups. And this provides the ability for customers to manage their infrastructure, but also because of our ability to deduplicate and recover data easily, we are able to use those backups to restore the VM very quickly.
Yeah, to give you a practical example, because of our design, and this is years of investment went into this design, the data model is such that we can deliver outcomes like 90% capacity savings on VMs and their associated backups, assuming you build in traditional backup policies of hourly backups or daily backups or weekly backups, and you're retaining those VMs for a reasonable retention period. All of this policy is built in, 3 clicks to do these operations within vCenter or SCVMM. So it's easy to set up, but more importantly, you're saving 90% capacity on your primary VMs and backups. That's huge cost savings when you look at how do you protect your VMs. And more importantly, you can do rapid recovery. We actually guarantee a terabyte VM recovered in 60 seconds or less on our platform. That's remarkable when you think about how fast you need to recover when your VMs are offline, and it's all about keeping your businesses up and running. You might have the best backup in the world, but if you can't rapidly recover, what good is it? And we're delivering business outcomes to the point of 1 terabyte VMs routinely recovered in 60 seconds or less. This is incredible power, and it's built in. It's not packaged, bolted on with third-party software. This is foundational to our architecture, leveraging the HPE Simplivity solution set.
And also to add, we have actually developed another tool called RapidDR, which allows you to automate the disaster recovery, wherein you can decide and create a plan on how you want your environment to be recovered. And once a disaster happens, you can just execute the plan, and all your environment will be recovered, meeting your customers' RTOs.
All right, so looking at the product on a whole, what feature of Simplivity has you really excited? Like, what's your favorite part of the product?
I think the favorite product for me, coming from a traditional storage and looking at the advantage of Simplivity, is really having the inbuilt data production features which leverage our deduplicated data. This provides us the ability to minimize the amount of data which is stored within a system, but also making it very efficient to take backups and minimizing the amount of bandwidth you need to take backups. Another addition to that is all our Simplivity backups are unique and independent of each other. So even if my VM is lost, I can easily use the backup to restore. This is a great advantage. I manage a data center of my own, and there are multiple times when my VM is deleted accidentally, I could just go and restore from a backup.
Yeah, and this is Chuck, so I'll add on to Vinay's point. What I get really excited about are our powerful verbs. We can rapidly create a VM, and it's all about workloads today. It's how quickly can you provision and deploy and manage workloads. So what excites me is we give these powerful tools to VM admins and director of ITs and businesses across the globe where they can do a couple verbs very fast: rapid create, rapid restore, rapid backup, rapid clone for test dev, and rapid move, literally moving data across their data centers. All of these verbs, create, backup, restore, clone, move, can be performed with 3 clicks within vCenter, the VMware admin tool of choice, or SCVMM, the hypervisor of choice. So you don't have to screen jump across browsers. It's all built in. And those verbs, when you see the demo in literally 5 minutes, you can see all those verbs performed in an environment. It's incredibly powerful and disruptive, and that's what excites me. It lets customers do more faster, and then in turn they get time back, because to do those verbs in other environments, it's time consuming, and that's we allow you to free time to go look at new initiatives and gain time to explore new business outcomes for your any line of business or business out there that needs to innovate to drive their business forward.
Looking back at the history of Simplivity, what was the original use case or workload it was designed for, and subsequently, how has it moved past that original intention?
Yeah, this is Chuck. So originally, as we said before, we step back and we look at all the complexity to run virtualized workloads in the data center and all the IT that's required to run the workloads as well as to protect them. So really our design point was around this complexity in data center and across data centers. As well, an artifact of that was essentially any server-based workload that can run on VMware, and that's where we started. We started in a VMware environment, and then we subsequently added Hyper-V. But essentially, any app that runs on Intel and VMware, that was our design point. Now, because of our great inline dedupe compression optimization, we give those protection services to and we'll talk about workloads in a minute, but it was essentially almost anything that could run on VMware. So that's pretty exhaustive. After we got into market, we saw how VDI end-user computing environments were particularly interested in hyperconverged because of the appliance model. So we've also aggressively, I think a third of our customers are running VDI-like workloads, Horizon View, Citrix, et cetera, because of the characteristics of hyperconverged. It's so well suited just to address desktop virtualization. But we really started with a wider lens, and we were looking at all workloads that run in a VMware environment, and now we've expanded out to other hypervisors, including Hyper-V.
How are you seeing the end users actually use Simplivity? What kind of workloads are out there? What kind of use cases are out there in the wild?
Yeah, so we see a wide variety of use cases from data center consolidation, literally going into single data centers or across data centers and just consolidating, saving on power, space, cooling, network connections, and as they do technology refreshes. And this is going on across the globe. We also see robo deployments is very popular, where you may not have IT resources in these remote sites, yet you want to gain control and have a rapid way to deploy infrastructure with built-in protection and then centrally manage it. We have a law firm in D.C. They're managing law firms across the globe in Latin America, U.S., and they use HPE Simplivity to deploy it. We also have Red Bull Racing is one of our popular customers, Aston Martin, Red Bull. They literally put up a data center every time they run their Formula One races across the globe, and we're the data center at the edge when they're doing their analytics. So we're also in a variety of remote sites and multi-data center environments. Virtual desktop infrastructure, as we mentioned, a third of our customers do some form of VDI. Many times it's combined with general purpose, general virtualization, but they're literally running end-user computing, which is very taxing on infrastructure. It's a great way to deploy easily with predictive scale and predictable performance for their environments, while also not compromising on data protection. Test dev, many times customers, because of those verbs I talked about, rapid create, rapid backup, cloning, all of those verbs that we enable in our architecture give customers the benefit for test dev. I have my production environment running on production HPE Simplivity, but we have an insurance company. They're doing their online testing and new technology development on Simplivity systems where they can rapidly clone and test out workloads. So test dev is very popular. Improving their disaster recovery, security posture, risk management posture. Just the sheer fact to protect and back up sites is complicated and expensive. And since those services are built in, we become many times a great backup data protection refresh scenario for customers, and they're getting all the benefits of the primary workload virtualization as a function of that data protection upgrade. So those are a few examples. In terms of workloads, we've recently surveyed our customers. SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server databases, 85% of our customers surveyed, and this was upwards of hundreds of customers surveyed. They're running Microsoft SQL Server, various versions of SQL. Exchange, messaging, collaboration suites are running on HPE Simplivity. In industry-specific applications as well, we have customers running computer-aided dispatch or Esri GIS graphing applications. One utility up in Canada is running these graphing apps to manage their workforces. SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint, VDI, as I said, View, as well as Citrix. Oracle databases are quite popular. Web app. And wide variety of applications as well. We had SAP traditional apps running for a while, and recently, end of last year, we actually qualified SAP HANA running on Hyperconverged and HPE Simplivity. So wide variety of workloads and applications.
And with our last few minutes here, forward-looking, are there any roadmap items out there publicly available? Obviously, like if there's NDA stuff you can't discuss, but anything forward-looking that on the horizon for the Simplivity product line?
Some of the things we discussed at Discover in Madrid and a recent acquisition we made around Plexi. We have launching the Composable Fabric and also Composable Cloud. These are two major initiatives and features that are coming out from a HPE standpoint. But what you should also expect to see in the next couple of months and releases is we have always been in the motive of we have always been in the goal to simplify IT and be available where the customers want to manage their infrastructure. So you should expect to see a lot more enhancements in the way people are going to manage their infrastructure, scale, and also make sure that customers get the best out of Simplivity. Unfortunately, we cannot discuss any specific roadmaps and the timelines, but I would say our path to simplify IT and make the job of IT admins easier is going to be better enhanced. Composable Fabric is a great example wherein we want to give the power to the VM admin even to manage their network infrastructure. You should expect to see more enhancements and features there coming along the way as well.
Excellent, guys. Well, I want to thank you for your time. Where can my listeners go to learn more about Simplivity?
So on Twitter, you can find us at HPE_Simplivity, SIMPLIVITY, as well as on the web, hpe.com/Simplivity. We have a lot of information, including case studies, reference architectures, white papers posted online.
Awesome. And where can my listeners find both of you on the internet? Are you on Twitter, LinkedIn? Do you blog? Feel free to promote.
Yeah, so for Chuck, you can find me at ChazYPWood on Twitter and at Chuck Wood on LinkedIn.
And for me, Vinay, you can find me on Twitter at jvinaymohan, and on LinkedIn you can search me by my name, Vinay Jannakuti.
Excellent. Once again, guys, thank you for your time.
All right.
Perfect.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
You.
And thank you for listening. If you'd like to be a guest on the ExploreVM podcast, have a show idea for a future episode, or to continue the conversation on today's topics, please contact me, Paul, at ExploreVM.com, Facebook.com/ExploreVM, or at ExploreVM on Twitter. Once again, thank you for listening.